Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Coffee Break, and I am back with a best of 3 series, and for once it's going to be a TvZ. I haven't done one of these since Idra and Puma, and before that, it was a long time before that. Our two players are going to be Sjow, which is going to be our blue Terran player spawning here on the left side, top left side of TvZ, and over here we are going to have MYMXLord spawning as our red Zerg player. Now, I think I've heard of the clan, MYMX, that's almost even kind of hard to say, MYMX. I think I've heard of them before, but I cannot be quite certain. I don't really know who this player is, so I'm interested to see if he can compete with the likes of Sjow over here, who is a very good Terran player, kind of fallen off the train in the mid to late 2011, but in the early days, he was one of the best, and anybody who was ever one of the best is still something to be feared at any point in their career. I know that back when I knew Sjow, he was definitely a bio player who loved to emphasize multi-pronged drops. He would just be dropping all over the map, and I really hope we see that out of him here. Because while it makes casting rather difficult, it is totally awesome to watch if I can catch at least half of them. We are going to be seeing Lord not go for a very fast expand of any sort. Now, he might actually, because he's saving up quite a bit of money right there. And yes, I just saw it drop. There we go. There, the hatchery hasn't dropped. So we are seeing a 15 hatch, a 16 hatch out of Lord in this game. If I did not mention already, this is going to be a best of 3 series between these two players. 16 hatch, about the earliest you can go. We do have a 16 command center as well, so that's a command center before barracks. So both players playing kind of risky without even really scouting the other player. And I guess you can kind of pull it off, call that off as luck. But at the same time, you can also say we're playing here on TvZ, which is a very, very big map. It's one of the bigger ones, and I believe it is still the biggest in the ladder. However, in tournament play, Terminus is a very popular map, and it is much bigger than TvZ. That is probably the biggest macro map I can even think of. Now we're getting our barracks down, and now we are getting our spawning pool down. Do have this extractor up. It should be getting 100 gas out of it a little bit after this spawning pool finishes. And that's just going to allow him to get that metabolic boost and then pull those drones off gas so that he can focus more on mineral income for a little bit, and that just allows him to, well, obviously take the mineral lead. He can get Zerglings out, hatchery, drones, drone, and no, actually using some of those, some of that gas on this Roach War, and a little bit interesting in that, right? Normally you'll see, once again, Zerg players go for that quick metabolic boost, which just allows them to get map control. Drone is inside the base of Sjow now, but he won't be seeing too much as there's not much to see, unless he wants to see what this extractor feels like. That is going to be totally annoying for Sjow. I don't think Sjow is planning on taking those extra gases anytime soon, and especially it's not a big deal because he does have these 2 geysers down here. But that is definitely just one of those little things that you have to think of in the back of your mind. You can't just let that sit there forever, because when you do want to take that gas, you want it to be available. Now, we are having quite a few roaches being made right now in the early game here. That is 5 roaches, and roaches 7525, I believe, are not really the cheapest unit in terms of supply or cost in general. Lord is sacrificing quite a few drones to get these roaches out. So you've got to assume that Lord is looking to do some sort of aggression here. And yes, indeed, we do have these 5, 6 roaches and 1 or 2 more on the way here, beginning to push them across the field. This SCV was killed, so I believe Sjow should know about this by the time it gets here. A reactor is going down on this first barracks, though, and what you really want right now is a tech lab to be able to get those marauders out. We do have 1 bunker up and another bunker being built as soon as those roaches were spotted. However, it's not going to be up in time, and this is going to be kind of a close call for Sjow. Just going to need to play it fairly carefully here. Now, the roaches do not outrange the bunkers. They only have a range of 4. These buildings take up 2 matrix squares, so the bunkers have a range of 6, and they are able to shoot the roaches unless the roaches come all the way around and decide to shoot the supply depot instead. Now, there is, oh no, those are just Zerglings in range. So, Sjow is just going to have to sit here and mass repair while we wait for himself, while he waits for any sort of extra units to come out. He really needs to get as many Marines out as possible right now. And even reinforcing Marines being picked off right now. Very, very annoying. This reactor is going to fall, as well as this supply depot. And once again, this is really the damage that Lord needs to do in this battle, because he rushed for these roaches. He missed a lot of drones in the early game. So he's done a little bit of damage. He could actually back out now if he wanted to. He delayed that Marine production. He delayed a little bit with the supply there. And now able to just kind of slowly pick away at this barracks. A couple of Hellions on the field now, but that is absolutely not what you want versus roaches. Hellions are almost completely useless. And I would assume this is going to fly backwards and get a tech lab somewhere. Indeed, it is. And now Sjow is supply blocked. He hasn't noticed it until now. He can't make anything right now. And still, not making any supply depots. He really needs to fall back and make some supply depots here and worry about his macro over right now, because his game is suffering terribly even more because of it. And in the meantime, what has Lord been doing? Well, Lord has just been droning up like a mofo. Yes, how long has it been since you heard the words mofo? We do have a double evolution chamber coming down. I really like that because Lord has taken a little bit of lead in the early game here. And so he has a double evo chamber, and he can try to solidify his lead in the mid game by getting upgrades. And it looks like we are having melee attack level 1 and carapace level 1. And the reason a lot of Zerg players have been going for melee attacks lately instead of missile attacks is because they're looking really far into the future. They're looking pardon me. They are looking towards the late game, and the broodlings from the brood lords do benefit from the melee attack and the carapace. So if you can get those broodlings to 3-3, it is just absolutely devastating as a Zerg opponent. We do have metabolic boost on the way now, so that'll be that Zergling speed that will allow the Zerglings to gain map control, which is always very nice. These two Hellions are running around right now trying to take these watchtowers, making sure that Lord does not get too much of a lead in that right. And also following it up with siege tank tech, which I really feel is the right option for what he is scouted right now. And as far as what a Lord has right now, siege tank definitely the better option, the best option really. Infestation pit up on the field right now. So right now we are definitely looking towards that Roach Infestor Broodlord composition, but again, that is quite a ways in the future. One thing you'll notice about a lot of pro players is that they will not rush for any sort of tech whatsoever a lot of the time. We did see a Roach rush, but that was just as a response to this quick command center. So the Spire won't go up for quite a while yet, because it's just not that important in the mid game. And in the mid game, off of only 2 bases, maybe 3 even, it's very difficult to support Roach and Infestor and Broodlords while getting double upgrades. So it's best just to focus on one thing at a time, and that's a mistake that a lot of younger and less experienced players do make, is that they try to get their late game, the late game composition that they desire, they try to get that in the mid game. And really, unless your opponent just doesn't attack you and allows you to do that, you're going to be in a lot of trouble if you go ahead and try to get that. We are seeing double upgrades now as well out of our Terran player, which I really like. I don't know if he was able to scout the double evo chamber, but it is exactly what he needs to do to make sure that he does not fall too far behind in this game. We do have 5 infestors on the way. Pathogen glands is just finishing up. That was a very nice timing, getting those 5 infestors right after the pathogen gland finishes up, to make sure that they start out with that extra energy. And of course, pathogen glands allow the infestors to start with extra energy so they can fungal growth right after being created. Overseer in a nice little spot here, and here's something for Zerg players. Anytime you have a map like this where there's just a little bit of awkward high ground near an opponent's base, take advantage of it by placing an Overlord here. You can see these units. He can't see your Overseer, and even if he can't shoot at it until he gets vision of that high ground. Oh, copy that. We're having a bit of an engagement here. A beautiful, beautiful fungal growth going down on top of all those Marines. Those Marines are just devastated there, and I don't know why I said copy that. I'm going to go ahead and paste it and say, put your Overlords on that high ground spot. Now, once again, we did see a very, very nice engagement there. Fungal growth on a large group of Marines, was able to do a crap load of damage. All those Marines died pretty much instantly. Very, very few Zerg deaths. However, the Zerg did decide to walk straight into the line of Sea Tanks and Marines, which is not something you want to do. Believe it or not, you do not want to throw your units away like that. So these infestors, still plenty of energy to fungal growth, drop infested Terrans, but the siege line is not something that he could walk in and engage. As we saw, all those roaches died very, very quickly. And if he's not careful, he's going to lose some more there. And it looks like, oh, these 2 tanks were in range of that roach right there. At least one tank was. Now, one thing I'd like to point out, versus armored, when tanks are unsieged, they do 25 damage with a weapon speed of 1.04. When they're sieged, they do 50 damage versus armored with a speed of 3. But if you calculate that out, if you have your units unsieged, if you have your siege tank unsieged, and approximately, you'll get approximately 3 shots unsieged for every shot sieged. You will actually do more damage when you're unsieged to a single unit than you will when you're sieged up. So, I mean, if you're seeing mass zergling like we are right here, 54 zerglings just now being created, try to stay sieged up for massive amounts of units. But if you just have single units or just a small group of units, definitely siege up for that. I mean, definitely unsiege for that, to be able to do the maximum amount of damage. Now, we are seeing a stim forward to take out these creep tumors so that Sjow can take the watchtower. I'm surprised we haven't seen really any drop play yet. It looks like these zerglings are coming around the back from maybe some sort of multi-pronged attack to be able to take out the tanks from behind while the Marines do a lot of damage from, while the Marines take damage from the infestors. And now Sjow in a very nice position on that watchtower, but in the meantime, we do have a Zergling counterattack over to the 4th base of the Terran player. In the meantime, Sjow is trying to move forward. However, a beautiful fungal growth once again on all those Marines. Takes out a large group of them, and yet another fungal growth, and now these roaches are just able to absolutely clean house on all of these Marines. Siege tanks getting sieged up just a little bit late, but they have now completely lost their Marine support. And even in the back here, the reinforcements just got mopped up by all of these Zerglings. And while the Zerglings have died now, I mean, how much damage was sustained there for Sjow? He lost his entire Marine ball up here to the infestors, lost a large group of reinforcements over here due to Zergling counterattack. And now he's sitting in kind of a bad position, trying to double produce command centers so that he can double expand, get double mule out something. Over here we do see once again another engagement. The Marines once again get too clumped up, get beautifully fungal growth by Lord, and now the roach is pushing straight up into the siege tank line, forcing the siege tanks to shoot at each other. You can see this siege tank was on fire for just a little bit, but this is being played beautifully by Lord. He is able to sacrifice just enough units to kill a lot of Zjow's units and be able to remacro his own army very quickly. However, what do Zerg players do when they're ahead and they want to lose? They make Ultralisks. We do have an Ultralisk cavern out now. The chitinous plating is on the way, which gives those Ultralisks +2 additional armor to whatever armor they already have. However, Ultralisks do not have that burrow buff yet. In Heart of the Storm, they will be able to charge while burrowed, which is going to be a solution to the pathing problems they have right now. A lot of the time, they will get stuck behind units. So that's why they are very commonly unused. They have a lot of pathing issues. For any of you StarCraft Brood War players, their pathing is about as good as the Dragoons in StarCraft Brood War, which was an absolute joke. However, these Ultralisks will definitely help break these siege lines if there are some roaches to reinforce behind it. You really cannot just have Zergling Ultralisk infestors though. However, it seems that with his numbers right now, oh, beautifully EMP down on those infestors, they now have no energy left to fungal growth. So that is exactly what Sjow needed to do. But however, these Ultralisks just smashing through these armies, there was nothing to get in the way of their pathing. In this case, he's going to make sure to focus down these 2 weak Ultralisks. And indeed, those 2 Ultralisks are focused down. 1 Ultralisk still alive with a lot of armor, 5 armor now. So very, very hardy unit with 500 health and 5 armor. But for now, Lord is going to be able to go ahead and push on through to the Terran main base. I just don't think he has enough, and he really shouldn't be engaging this. I feel he does have a slight lead, but not much of a lead. And right there, you see his lead just kind of was lost. Now, Sjow really needs to keep remaking tanks, and a lot of tanks. Maybe even, I dare say, I'll be honest, I dare say this, a battle cruiser. We have absolutely no anti-air on the field right now for Lord. He doesn't even have a Spire from as far as I've seen. I am very, very surprised to see Lord go Ultralisk. It's very refreshing, though, to see a player use Ultralisk, because of all units in the game, Ultralisk is almost like the carrier for Protoss. I mean, it's just not used that often, and until they get the buff, they'll continue to not be getting used all that often. We finally do have a Spire just now on the way, so maybe the battlecruiser comment is a little bit void. I would like to point out we do have 5 burrowed banelings, 5 burrowed zerglings over here in the 3rd expansion for Sjow. A little bit of a convoy line here for Sjow as well. Sieging up just in time though, you get some nice shots off on some of those siege tanks. These infestors have plenty of energy for fungal growth. There are 2 lines that could be fungal growth at the top and the bottom, and those are both indeed fungal growth. Those warriors will survive though, because it does take 2 fungal growth to kill units. I believe fungal growth, according to that, does about 40 damage. And armor does not stop that, I do not think. So these Marines did still survive. No damage really taken for our Terran player, but he has to be careful. It looks like there was a little bit of a Marine push out over here, but it's completely cleaned up by a massive amount of Zerglings. And where are the drops that Sjow really needs to get Lord back on his heels? He cannot allow Lord just to keep pushing out like this. He is ahead in the supply count, but Lord really having a lot of bank. I believe Larva has got to just be the problem. Just now getting his Larva injects back on timing. Did forget to do those for a little while. Cannot really afford to do that against a Terran player whose macro is really ramping up, especially once that Terran player gets on 4 base. He is going to be deadly. We do have an engagement here. All the Ultralists do get in front and just tear apart the siege tank and Marine line. That line of Terran units really had no chance, and now you see suddenly Lord take a huge lead, and no matter what Sjow throws at these Ultralists, they just seem to be mopping up. Once again, with that 6 armor now, that is the maximum amount of armor for these Ultralisks, and I think that's the most any unit really gets in the game. Battle cruisers might rival that. Now pushing into the 4th base, the mass repair from the SCVs on the command center, but these Ultralists really need to come around to the other side and start trying to attack all of these SCVs here, otherwise they're just going to take forever to kill this mandatory fortress. In the meantime, he's taking a lot of extra shots. Now, Sjow is pulling in reinforcements from the back, with a few intercepting Zerglings do actually take out a lot of those reinforcements. None of the Ultralists have died yet. Now a few burrowed infestors do pop up, cast some fungal growth, and burrow back down. No Ultralist, 1 Ultralist has now gone down, and he has given up on this 4th base. Very poor engagement by Lord in that case, but now pushing straight back up into the natural expansion. There's nothing left back here for Sjow to defend with, and a 200 to 123 supply, and Sjow is looking to be in a lot of trouble to this Ultralisk attack. There's just so many Ultralisks coming constantly. They're doing 47 damage to all of these buildings. These SCVs could be mopped up in an instant as well, and indeed those SCVs are pulling the fray, and that is never something we want to do. It is now 177 to 77 supply, and I believe that is just going to be a good game from Sjow. He does manage to almost completely clean up this attack. There are still a few units left, and there's the GG from Sjow. There we go. My goodness, a very well played game by Lord in game number 1 of this best of 3 series. Ultralist, a unit you do not see all that often, but Lord used them to a fairly stunning efficiency. Perhaps a few control problems with those, but other than that, very well played game by both players. One thing I would really like to see Sjow do in the next game is drop. He really needed to put Lord on his back heels if he wanted to be able to try to come back in that game. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not already, go to Facebook, type in Coffee Break, and find me there. Hit that like button and you will know when I go live. This game is casted offline, but I did just finish casting a couple of series live the other night. So please go to Facebook, type in Coffee Break, and find me there. Also, subscribe to this channel and comment on this video. It really helps me know what you guys are thinking, and I will always do my best to take whatever you say into consideration. Until game number 2, this is Coffee Break, signing out.